Welcome to a sparkling new podcast from Mike Parry and Mike Graham. We're the two Mikes.
Actually, it sounds even better when you do it Dullsville, because when you try to be happy and excited and energetic, you sound pathetic.
Thanks.
Look at the light! How long will it be before a man runs from the start to the end of the 100 metres track in 1 second?
This is TalkSport Extra Time with the two Mikes, and it's time to say a very, very warm welcome to a very, very downbeat-looking Mr. Mike Porky Parry. Very good morning to you, Mr. Parry.
Yeah, good morning, Mike. Please do not misrepresent me like that. I'm not downbeat.
You look downbeat.
Life to me is a pogo stick, okay?
Is it? A pogo stick?
Yeah, a pogo stick. You're only actually down for 1 second out of 10.
Right.
The other 9 seconds, you're on a parabola curve of going up on the stick.
Surely you're up and down
well,
every second.
No.
What sort of pogo stick did you have? One that never came down.
You only reach the lowest point on a pogo stick when you're actually, the spring is down to its maximum compression,
yes,
and then you spring back again. So what I'm saying is, you don't get down in life, you spring like a pogo stick every second, bounce back into life.
But what
Get
goes
on
up,
with it.
What goes up must come down, of course.
No, not necessarily. What goes up can stay up, providing you have the mental capacity to live up there and not down there.
What do you think would happen if you had a pogo stick on the moon? You went up, you just keep going, wouldn't you?
No, you know exactly what happens, because when these guys in the spacesuits bound across the moon in large leaps, which will happen, of course, when man runs the 100 metres in 1 second, which will be exactly the same sort of procedure.
In slow motion.
They don't just keep going and go up, they come down again,
because they're wearing very heavy boots, though, to make sure they don't float off.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what you do on a pogo stick, wouldn't you? You put a weight on the bottom.
Well, I'm saying if you didn't have that, if you just had a regular pogo stick...
Well, if you didn't do that, you'd be the most stupid man in the universe, and you would just catapult into space and you'd never be seen again.
Yeah.
It'd be as frightening as that scenario in which George Clooney suddenly cut the wire and disappeared and never see him again.
Yeah, I haven't seen that film.
What's it called again? Gravity.
Gravity, yeah.
And that must be the most frightening thing in the world. What do you think you'd think about in the last sort of 36 hours of your life before you starved and to death?
I don't know if it would be 36 hours, actually, because I don't know what... I mean, I suppose if you were in a space suit, you'd still be able to breathe. You'd have some kind of,
life support system.
Life support system, exactly.
That's what you're looking for?
That was the phrase I was looking for,
yeah.
And I suppose it would be the worst kind of way to die, because you wouldn't actually know how long you had, would you?
Well,
you wouldn't know if it was the last 36 hours or what.
Can you imagine? I mean, you know, the spaceship's gone now. All you're staring at are stars, which are millions of miles away anyway. You're just floating around, and as you quite rightly say, at any second now, your oxygen will run out because the life support system, battery... Mind you, if those life support batteries were being powered by solar power, which they usually are, it might go on forever.
Maybe.
But the problem is, inside your suit, unless you had a packet of biscuits and a couple of ham sandwiches, and you know what I mean.
Why would you have ham sandwiches?
Well, I don't know. I don't know whether they carry food.
Somebody has
space.
Asked me actually, by the way, on Twitter, just to digress for a moment, what your obsession is with lean ham, because you make a lot of references to lean ham. You've asked for lean ham in the dressing room at Birmingham.
Yeah.
You've just said ham sandwiches there again.
Yeah, it's not fattening at all. Ham on a baguette is very nutritious and nice, and it's not fat, and you do have to watch your weight. But anyway, look, we are digressing.
Yeah, I don't know how we got onto that conversation.
We got onto it because you were telling me I was low because of Everton. I'm not low. I mean, Lukaku very nearly took the lead for us, and that was
great save by Peter Cech.
It was an astonishing reflex save, wasn't it? Left leg out.
I don't know quite what Sam Matterface meant, though.
I
think that's why I was thinking about space, because Sam Matterface made that rather strange allegory and said that the reactions of an astronaut. And even Stan Collymore made fun of him. He said, well, actually, astronauts move very slowly.
Yeah, they do, yeah.
It was a strange thing to say.
Perhaps he was talking about Buzz Aldrin.
Yeah.
Because Buzz Aldrin, of course, is the most extraordinary man ever born.
Yeah.
He's the only man on the space programme in all the years America did it, who, when he left the mother ship and went for a spacewalk into space, his blood pressure went down, not up. Everybody else's went up because of the anxiety of being in the great unknown.
Yeah.
Buzz Aldrin's went down.
He went a bit mad afterwards as well.
Oh, he went mad because he was only the second man ever to step on the moon.
Yeah.
In the history of mankind, he was the second man to step on the moon. Most people take that as a great honour, but he felt he was a failure.
Yeah.
He was the top student at his university. He was a top student at flight school. He won all the honours as a test pilot and a fighter pilot and all that. And then he became second as
Neil Armstrong was the guy. I've told you about my encounter with Neil Armstrong.
You have, yeah, when he told you to F off.
Told me to F off, yeah.
I mean, that is
not very nice.
Absolutely extraordinary, absolutely extraordinary. I mean, it's a bit like Gordon Brown when he was the Chancellor of the Exchequer.
Yeah.
You know, easily the second most important job in government by a mile. But because
when he did it, he thought it was the most important job, didn't he?
Well, no, he didn't. And that's why he hardly ever spoke to Tony Blair. Why he'd walk past the front of Tony Blair's open office and not even bother saying hello. You know, why he threw great strops all the time. And this was because, of course, in the build-up to the Labour Party winning the election, he expected to be the leader after John Smith had died. Yeah. He was John Smith's protégé.
That's right.
But Peter Mandelson and Alistair Campbell said, look, Gordon, you're rather a dour, boring, ugly, unelectable Scotsman.
Yeah.
And we have this young fella here, and he knew Tony Blair very well, because Tony Blair had shared his office in the Commons, and he is bright and handsome, and he has a wide, beaming smile. Yeah. The electorate love him. He's bound to get us into government. Can you do a deal? So Tony Blair said, well, you can run the economy, Gordon. So he ran it ruthlessly and tried to be as powerful as the Prime Minister. Yeah. But what I'm saying is, he's the only man in this country who thought being Chancellor of the Exchequer was a bum job, and he didn't really want to do it.
No.
Extraordinary.
Very extraordinary.
But let's get back to Everton for a minute.
Yeah, let's get back to Everton. Yeah, what's your view?
Well, I wasn't that dismayed. I mean, it's always horrible to lose a game in the 89th minute, isn't it? Because you've held on for so long. Happens to us at Chelsea quite a lot. This. It was also horrible that Lukaku didn't score. But I have to say, Gareth Barry needs talking to.
Yeah.
I thought he took the first booking for the team, if you see what I mean, because there was a danger that Chelsea were on the break, and he thought, right, I'll just shoulder him out the way, and so he deserved to get booked for that. The second one was just
petulant, wasn't it? He just kind of stuck his foot behind him.
But the second one, and it was petulant, you're right, came after a warning by the referee to behave himself or he would send him off, which he even directed to Jagielka, the captain, so he should have known what he was doing.
But what I'm saying, it wasn't in a particularly dangerous part of the pitch, and it wasn't a particularly bad tackle. He just, he did that sort of thing you do sometimes when you play five-a-side football. Yeah. Somebody's gone past you and you just stick your leg out to trip them up.
It was dreadful, and without a shadow of a doubt, it gave Chelsea the breathing space to make one final assault on the Everton goal. That's what they did, and they scored.
Yeah.
And shocking behaviour, and I'm appalled, really. A man like Gareth Barry, the maturity he's got, should have done that. I don't like any manager moaning afterwards that, well, we should have had this, we should have had that.
Yeah.
No way in the world Ivanovic should have been sent off for a headbutt. I don't get headbutt happened.
It wasn't a headbutt.
I didn't see a headbutt, and I wish that hadn't been raised by our manager at the end of the game.
It's not like him to be moaning like that, though.
Well, he's under pressure.
I wonder whether the pressure's starting to get to him, because we saw, we were talking yesterday about Louis van Gaal and his press conference and how he's under pressure. We saw Nigel Pearson having his ridiculous moment of madness last weekend. Yeah. And, you can see that some of these managers starting to crack up.
I think you're right. I think you see the contrast between last season and this season. Roberto Martinez is quite stark. Last season, he was being hailed as the successor to David Moyes, and the man who made us just as safe as we were under David Moyes, but with flair and character and the ability to move forward.
And brown shoes.
Tan shoes. Yeah. I was the first to point out the tan shoes.
You were.
First game of last season, why is he wearing tan shoes? Still wearing them. This season, he's seen as being a man who's put the brakes on all the progress that we made under David Moyes. So it's quite a stark contrast for Roberto, and it's a huge test for him, because he either is the man that we thought he was last season, a visionary who can introduce attractive football while at the same time
getting
results and bringing the bacon home, or he's run out of ideas. He's gone insular. Yeah. He's trying to contain it. He's not scoring goals, and he's gone defensive, and we don't want to see that at all.
No.
So it's a big test for him.
So you're not one of those that says, he's had his lot. You should give him. You should give him more time.
Of course, you give him more time. Davy Moyes had a very difficult second season, but he turned out to be our greatest in terms of longevity, our greatest ever manager.
Yeah.
Although Howard Kendall, of course, was the greatest for winning all the trophies he did in the 80s. But there's no question at all that Martinez will step down. And one of the reasons for that is whenever you get rid of a manager, you've got the problem, which Villa have got now, which QPR have got now, who do you appoint next? Yeah. Is there anybody as good as your incumbent? Well, there's nobody as good around as the incumbent we've got, which is Roberto Martinez. Not unless you were able to go to Southampton and lure Ronald Koeman away, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it very much looks like he might be a contender for the next job at Barcelona.
Ronald Koeman, really?
Ronald Koeman, Barcelona.
Yeah, they won last night as well, I believe.
He scored the winning goal for them in a European Cup final.
Well, he was a good player.
Yeah, that's what I mean, yeah. I didn't know until somebody told me, or I read about it last night or something like that. But anyway,
we've got to talk about Aston Villa coming up later on.
We're going to talk about Aston Villa because it's a very important story.
It is a very important story.
And also, I've got important things to tell you about that.
But also, Parylosophy last night, your advice, I think, has been heeded by the board, because you said shop, work, shop, And, buying, and lo and behold, away they've gone and they've gone shopping for a new
It was very,
manager.
very timely, wasn't it? Are we going to play a bit of a clip of that when we come into the next part of the show? Because we're talking about Villa.
Yeah.
And in fact, it was a philosophical directive to the board at Villa, and they've acted upon it.
They have indeed. Well, maybe we could dig that out from the archives from yesterday. He's Mike Parry, I'm Mike Graham. We are the two Mikes. Loads more.
What for nothing was the Midlands centred on that mighty city of Birmingham, the home of Aston Villa, known as the workshop of the world. Now examine the dynamic of that statement. Workshop of the world. The backbone to the British Empire. In particular, focus on that first illusionary word, workshop, and reflect now on the 21st century reality. Yes, that's right. Villa does not work, and to save themselves, they need to shop. Work, shop, work, shop, work, shop, work, shop, work, shop, work, shop.
And that was it.
That was it, you see, and
a lot of people couldn't make head nor tail of it at the time, but in many ways, when you listen to the analysis and you think about it, they've done exactly what you suggested.
Work, i.e. you've got work to do to get it better, and if you don't, go and shop for a new manager.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Shop for new players in the transfer window, which is now closed.
All
that kind of stuff, absolutely.
It'll be too late for shopping in the window.
Yeah. Now, I know who the ideal new manager is.
Who is it?
Without a shadow of a doubt, it's David Moyes.
But hang on, he's already got a job.
Well, it doesn't matter. You should buy him out, because on tomorrow morning's papers, which we're lucky enough to have here now, on I think the back of the Mirror, one of them, it says it's going to cost the club £10 million anyway.
Yeah. Which is bonkers, isn't it? I mean, that's why I'm saying...
Well, they gave him a new deal in September, do you remember?
Yeah.
They were second in the table after about 6 games or something, and they said, right...
Because I think they'd won 3 games in the start of the season, which is more games than they won for the rest of the season put together.
That's right, yeah. And by the way, just to put their paucity... into perspective. Paucity into perspective. 4 Premier League players have scored more than the Aston Villa team.
Yeah, that's right.
Including Harry Kane, who scored 13, and Aston Villa only scored 11.
Do you remember when Bournemouth went to play them? Bournemouth, it turned out, had scored more goals in Birmingham than Aston Villa had scored in all of their games.
Because they'd walloped Birmingham, hadn't they?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Unbelievable. But anyway, look, the point is...
What is the point?
And by the way, I think Stan Collymore, a fellow broadcaster, has already nicked my idea. I think he said something about David Moyes earlier.
He did say that, yes. So he said either David Moyes or Sam Allardyce, which I was quite surprised about.
Yeah, well, I can't comment on the Sam Allardyce thing, but David Moyes he's settling in Spain, but 2 things he's finding difficult. One, learning the Spanish language.
Yes.
Because his Spanish teacher won't let him learn it too quickly.
Oh, yeah.
Because his Spanish teacher wants him to appreciate the culture aspect of the language. Well, it's complicated, isn't it, in San Sebastian? Yeah. Because I was reading a piece which said, actually, that it would be better off... Spanish.
They don't really speak Spanish anyway.
Exactly.
They don't speak that kind of Madrid Spanish anyway.
Exactly.
And it's almost like Catalonia. They have a very different dialect. And actually, they would be more happy with him speaking English. But I've also seen him doing some of those strange kind of Steve McLaren-style kind of Spanglish type interviews as well. Yeah, I
have as well. But the other issue he's got is that he's bemused that after every game he goes to the coach of the opposition and invites him to his office, office in the stadium for a glass of Rioja. Because obviously when you're in Spain, do as the Spanish do, So in this country, I don't know what you drink, some Australian or some Shiraz or something like that. So
they don't drink English wine. They might drink English wine.
You wouldn't drink English red wine.
English wine is getting very good now.
Not English red.
Yeah, there's a vineyard actually not a million miles away from where I'm down in Sussex.
Is that right?
Which has got some very nice looking reds.
Yeah, okay. Well, if you say so. But
I've not actually tried them yet.
No, well, I don't believe it. I think it's rubbish.
I've had a couple of whites from there, which were very good. I went to try and buy a case of wine from there before Christmas.
Oh, it's a bit of a novelty for your family when they came over. Nice. That's a good idea. But
there was never anybody around. I went twice and I couldn't find anybody to buy.
Well, you wandered around this vineyard, but there's nobody there.
Yeah, and I had like a big warehouse full of cases of wine. And at one point, I was with my daughter. She said, "Why don't you just take one and leave, leave some money?" And I'm like, "Well, I don't really feel comfortable doing that."
No, I totally agree. Andy Townsend and I went to Stellenbosch when we were in
Stellenbosch.
Stellenbosch.
Did you? Really?
Stellenbosch. When we were in South Africa on one occasion, because we went there 3 times. And first of all, the rolling hills are utterly spectacular.
I'm sure.
If you woke up there and looked out the window and saw those hills that roll away into the distance, and, just hundreds of miles of vines and grapes and all that kind of stuff, fantastic. But secondly, we did a wine tasting, of course, around one of the major wineries.
That must have been fun.
Oh, it was.
Did you spit it out as you were supposed
No.
to?
We drunk everything. Right. Drunk a lot. Literally carried into the people carrier to get us back to Cape Town. No, well, I was anyway. Andy was a bit more moderate than me.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But, no, it was wine. So anyway, what I'm saying is, so he's expressed to his friends that, he's very bemused that every time he goes up to a manager, instead of them just politely declining, they go, "Oh, no. What's Spanish for no? Non?
No.
No. And it's like he's been branded already. Well, I'm perhaps exaggerating here, but they wonder why this manager wants to go drinking after the game.
So it's not a tradition with them?
Not a tradition with them at all. And I'm sure they all enjoy a glass of wine with their dinner on a Saturday or a Sunday night or something like that, but the idea of drinking at the ground seems to be anathema to them. And so maybe Davy Moyes has already been perceived as this wild-eyed, eyes blazing, ginger-haired, pick-type character, and now the Spanish understand why Hadrian built his wall.
Yeah.
You
see what
I mean?
I mean, he does have, unfortunately, kind of quite wide staring eyes, so he does look a bit like that, doesn't he?
But anyway, look, if it's going to cost £10 million to get rid of Paul Lambert, and I very much doubt it is, there must be clauses in the contract which are breakers, you know what I mean? But nevertheless...
but I mean, if he's got a contract, he's not going to be arguing that he's somehow broken it. They'll say they've broken it. He'll get a good lawyer and he'll get all of it, won't he?
I would encourage anybody who's got a contract to go for it and get the terms of your contract.
Yeah. I mean, what did you do when you got fired?
I always got the endorsed contract.
Did you?
Always.
I thought you said you'd never been fired.
I haven't been fired, but I've had contractual disputes with people.
Well, you told me that you've always chosen to leave.
What I like to do is in these contractual disputes, I just keep saying no. I want my day in court. Because, you see, I use psychology. Yeah. Because they say, look, we'll offer you 80% of what the contract does. I said, no, you can get lost, son. I want 100%. In fact, I tell you what, I don't even want 100%. Do you know why? I want my day in court because there are things I know that I'm going to talk about in court. And the minute you say that, all of a sudden they come back and say...
This must make you a very popular character.
Well, yeah, maybe, yeah. They come back and they say...
I mean, after your revelation about how you gave away all the FA secrets, I'm not sure you should be giving away much more of your general style of negotiating.
Well, no, not really.
Nobody will ever want to hire you again. Nobody will ever give you a contract.
What you've got to remember, Mike, is I've got the psychological up on people because I know how to do these things. Right. Everybody's got secrets in their lives.
True.
Everybody's got skeletons in their cupboard. Yeah. So I always say when
even if you don't know what they are.
Exactly, and I don't know what they are, but I say, no, I want my day in court because I'm going to tell the world things that, you would not like to come out in public, OK? I can promise you that. Right. Don't think I've been sitting here, getting on my job every day for the last 3 years.
Without spying on you.
Yeah, without finding out what's going on behind the scenes, because I know,
That's a very dirty pool, that, isn't it?
Of course it is, but they're being dirty by not paying you the money they owe you. Yeah. So, and funny enough, the last 2 times that happened, immediately...
Well, the last 2 times you were fired.
No. Contract renegotiations. They've come back and said... well, they haven't. It's always through the lawyers. Then. The lawyer says, our clients have decided on a goodwill basis to settle.
Right. So, very sensible.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
So the secrets remain.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know what the secrets are, but everybody's got them, you see what I mean? Mind you, if anybody tried that on with me, I'd say, oh, fine, I'm only going to give you 50%. Right. You can take me to court, I've got no secrets. Right. I have no shame of anything I've done in my life. You cannot expose anything I've done shamefully.
So you won't allow anyone to play you that way, then, when you're in charge?
No, I don't go to lap dancing clubs,
you did that one time when you went to see the England game.
No, that's because there was a television in the foyer and I just watched it there.
It wasn't in the foyer,
I didn't see any half-naked women, you fool.
Yeah, you did. You told me they kept coming up to you offering you a drink.
Well, that's because I'm attractive and they could say I was a man of influence and power. For instance...
Anything else you'd like to admit to that you don't do?
Well, I don't have any secret children, stashed away anywhere. Absolutely certain about it.
What would you do if somebody suddenly turned up at your house and said, I'm your son or daughter?
Well, I'd have to just throw them away. Or
take their shoes off.
Turn them away. I turn them away, honestly, because it couldn't possibly happen. I've been very careful in the way I've progressed my life.
Right.
I don't, for instance, have any Cayman Island bank accounts with money stashed in it, OK?
Well, you've got the 12,000 missing Cheltenham and Gloucester account.
Well, I know, but that's
You've
because...
also got 15 bank accounts.
Well, yes, but that's not my fault.
You haven't them in Switzerland by any chance?
Hey?
Because you know the Internal Revenue Service is hot-footing it over to Switzerland.
No, I've got nothing in Switzerland. Nothing in Switzerland.
You sure?
I'm absolutely certain nothing in Switzerland.
Okay.
Isle of Man.
Isle of Man,
there's some stuff.
You've got
apparently,
some things there.
Apparently. But that's only because I used to go there on holiday and I like the look of it.
Really? So you go visit your money once in a while?
When we were a kid, yeah. We used to fly on a propeller plane from Liverpool Speak Airport to Ronaldsway.
I thought you used to be on a ferry.
Great. So we went on the ferry when we went on the 24-hour drinking trip to the Isle of Man, because there's no bars on aeroplanes, or at least not on the planes to the Isle of Man, because it only lasts 40 minutes. But what are you laughing at?
I'm just laughing at your rather manic laughter.
Yeah, exactly.
Have you had any sleep today, by the way?
Well, I've had a difficult day.
You have had a difficult day.
I've had negotiations with the wet room builders.
We're going to hear some more about that, because Wednesday's a very difficult day for you normally.
And I had to go through a rehearsal for the pub opening on Friday night.
A rehearsal?
Oh
my goodness me. Well, we'll hear all about that. Porky Parry is opening a pub on Friday, believe it or not.
Certainly am, the Old Bank.
Which is not unusual in his part of the world. He's normally there when the doors open, but this time it's actually official. And we'll be tweeting out...
I'm actually cutting a ribbon.
You're cutting a ribbon?
Cutting a ribbon, that's right, yeah.
Deary me. Yeah. That's going to be great.
Yeah, well,
he is Mike Parry, I'm Mike Graham. We are the two Mikes. There will be a podcast coming out in a few hours' time. Of course, lots more to talk of the Old Bank. A couple of very interesting tweets have come in, actually. Freddie says this at IROMG. Will Porky be comparing his own speed dating event at the Old Bank on Valentine's Eve to see if he can find a first Mrs. Parry?
Not a bad idea. I hadn't thought about that. Thanks
for
the advice.
Mark says at the two Mikes, are you sure Porky is opening a pub and not just pulling tickets out of a jar for a meat raffle?
No. The meat raffle.
This is not the place where you got the meat raffle.
No. Meat raffle's in the next town, village, or whatever you want to call it, Cheam. And what a success I've had there. But I didn't push my luck by going for the third week after winning for the first two.
Yeah.
Might go again this weekend.
Okay. And here's one from Fraser in Motherwell, who's texted into 81089. He says, "Hi guys, I believe I'm Mike's son. P.S. I also work for the Scottish Daily Express and Star."
Does he? What?
Well, that's what he says.
No, he can't do. That must be a joke.
Why? Well, there are people that work for the Scottish Daily Express.
Yeah, but he'd have to be about 30 or 25 or something like that.
Well, why wouldn't he be that age?
Well,
he could be.
Fraser. That sounds absolutely...
Did you ever know anyone in Motherwell?
Absolutely extraordinary. No, I didn't. I've had one sent here by Sean, and what he's done is he's gone and taken a picture of some complete dolt, some down and out, and said, put a caption in his face saying, "Daddy."
That's the guy that's been on that viral viral YouTube clip, the one, "Do you want some?"
Is it? Yeah. Oh, right, okay, yeah. Well, he got very big for about 5 days. He disappeared again?
He didn't have so much as 15 minutes of fame. He had about 5 minutes of fame.
He had 5 minutes of fame, that's right, yeah.
I think he's disappeared. Well, maybe he's down in Gosport now looking for a few handouts from you on the beer run.
He could be, you're absolutely right. Now then, now listen, talking about pubs, there's something I want to talk to you about, right?
Yes.
Now, this pub when it opened, first of all, too many pubs now are restaurants. There's a pub, it was called The Mint, actually, in Banstead. It used to be a lovely country pub. You used to go down there and stand at the bar and have a few pints.
Right.
You can't do that now. You're not allowed to stand and drink. If you haven't got a table, you get
really?
out.
Has it become one of those kind of gourmet pubs?
It's just a restaurant, mate. It's nothing else. There's room for about 2 people to stand at the bar, literally.
Yeah, right.
And the rest of the floor space is taken up with tables.
But isn't this because pubs are finding it more and more difficult to actually make money from just selling drink?
Absolutely.
They can only make money by selling food.
Absolutely. And they've all become country restaurants.
Yeah, but they can charge like $12.95 for a roast and all that.
Absolutely right, Mike. But the point is, this is truly in a village, on the edge of a village. And people in the village who, like retired people, who literally every morning at 11 o'clock would, go and get their paper, wander down the road, sit in the corner of the pub, have 2 or 3 pints, and then have a bit of lunch.
And in the old days, have a cigarette, maybe.
Yeah, have a cigarette and have a bit of lunch. They're not welcome anymore. No. They're not welcome anymore. I'm not saying that's happened at this particular pub that I named, The Mint. I'm sure they're very welcoming to all their customers. I have no doubt they are. But what I'm saying is...
But there's just not that kind of business going on.
Yeah, as a general trend, the casual drinker who wants a couple of pints and all that is finding it more and more difficult. And even if you sort of push the odds and say, I've only called in for a couple of pints, you mind if I just sit over while I read my paper?
Yeah.
You're sitting at a table who's fully laid up with knives and forks and, the condiments and all that.
Yeah, you don't feel comfortable.
No, exactly. You feel... And as soon as people start coming in, you start thinking, I better get out of here. Somebody will want this table in a minute. You know what I mean? But anyway, look, that's...
Well, those are really the only kinds of pubs that are making any money these days. I
totally agree with you. That's the difficulty. Yeah. Unless you're Tim, what's his name, who runs Wetherspoons, who's a great guy, Tim Martin. Great man who started that business from nothing.
It'd be funny if his name was Tim Wetherspoon.
No, it's not.
He was the boxer, wasn't he?
No, that was Witherspoon.
Yeah, Tim Witherspoon.
Yeah, this is Wetherspoons.
Yeah, no, I know.
This is Wetherspoons. All
right, but
it's called Wetherspoons after a teacher that he found particularly difficult to deal with at school in his schoolboy days.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, his family name's not Weatherspoon or anything like that. It was the name of his teacher. But what I'm saying is, the only reason he can make it work is because he buys in such volume, because he's got so many pubs now, and he buys at the right time and turns it over very quickly and deals for the, without being offensive to anybody, deals with the lower end of the market, price-wise, Right. And people flock into these pubs. They open at 9 o'clock, Mike, in the morning. And by 9:10, I'm told, they're full of people who go in there for two reasons. Firstly, an early drink, but secondly, they do incredibly good and good value breakfasts, which often get rated right at the top of the league as quality food.
Well, I must say, when we went to Birmingham last week, the executive producer and I went into a Weatherspoons for breakfast.
Really?
And it was in a very, like in Broad Street, that busy street.
I know.
And it was very, very quiet. There was only about 2 other tables occupied in this massive big place. But it was a good breakfast.
Yeah, of course it was. Yeah, it's good. Now, what I'm saying is this. This is all going to change. I told you recently I was in Gosport, my second home, and I was in a pub there. And I was rather disappointed to see a group of about 12 or 14 people come in, push a load of tables together, sit there, and they were drinking half pints of bitter or soda water or something like that, orange juice and that, for about 2 hours. And in fact, they'd come from a church meeting across the road.
You mentioned, didn't they ask you to join them or something?
Well, it wasn't they didn't ask me to join them. They'd got an inordinate amount of space, but I felt really, and this was a Weatherspoons, by the way, I felt for the guy who's running the pub about, curtailing his business, because they were in there drinking very little alcohol, which is the only drinks that make any money, soft drinks and all that kind of stuff. And they took up an inordinate amount of space for a good period of time, which stopped other people coming into the pub. Now, this has got to stop, because the idea, some people use pubs as their office. They go in there with their laptop, they buy half a bitter.
They get free Wi-Fi and all that.
Free Wi-Fi, they're using the laptop, they have half a pint of bitter over 2 hours. Yeah. This has all got to stop. And I've been advocating for some time.
Well, you think it should stop?
It's got to stop. Well, it's curtailing business, and business keeps the economy going, and if the economy's going, we all have a better quality of life.
Yeah, but if people are using it as an office, they can't go in there and get bladdered, can they?
Well, pubs are for bladderation.
No, they're not.
They're not working offices.
Well, see, that's where you're wrong.
Well, I don't mean bladderation.
Tony Blair tried to create this kind of cafe society where just because a pub was open, it didn't mean you had to go in there and drink until it's shut.
I'm not saying that.
Full, stagger your way home.
I'm not saying that at all.
You are saying that.
I'm not. I'm saying that pubs are for the consumption of alcohol. They are not to be turned into offices. And anyway, Tony Blair's cafe society failed completely, and that's the reason.
Because of people like you that can't just have one drink.
No. At the weekends now, 80% of police activity deals with drunks who come out of late opening pubs.
Yeah.
It was never thought through properly. As usual, politicians trying to be instantly popular. Open all the pubs. It's like saying, let's give free beer to everybody. Yeah. Let's everybody can have free sex and all this kind of stuff.
Free sex as well?
Yeah, whatever. Anything a politician...
I don't think any pub has ever offered that.
No, they haven't. But you know what I'm saying. It's
not in this country, anyway.
It's a popular politician's ruse to offer the electorate anything they want before an election. Now, what I'm saying is...
Would that be part of your policy in the pet party, then?
No, it wouldn't. No. And I'm not talking about the pet party. I'm talking about boozers. Now, what there should be is, from the moment you go into a pub, you should be on a timescale, a clock, and you should pay a time charge for the amount of time you're in that pub.
That's ridiculous.
No, it's not ridiculous. It's not ridiculous. You sit down at your table, you press a button, and then you pay for occupying that table for the amount of time you're there, as well as paying for your drinks.
That's ridiculous.
Right, well, let me tell you this.
So actually, it would be a disincentive to stay in the pub for any length of time, then, wouldn't it?
Well, it would be a disincentive to use it as an office if you're having to pay for... You're actually renting the space.
Well, because you couldn't charge... How much could you charge people? £1 an hour?
Well, I'm about to read you this, OK? Right. There is an organisation called Zifeblatt. It's spelled Ziferblat, OK? Right. They are a chain of coffee shops, OK? A chain that caters for the implicitly youngish and hipsteroid... Right. Hipsteroid, that's what the report says. In Shoreditch, which is in East London, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Very trendy part of East London.
And now expanding out to Manchester, right? They have changed the rules of occupation of their premises. The coffee is free, right?
Yeah.
So you go in there and you get your coffee free, even though they're coffee shops, right? But the customers pay 5p a minute for being in the premises.
5p a minute?
5p a minute.
That's ridiculous.
So that's £3 an hour.
It is.
OK? It's a new way of charging for amenities that have been popular for hundreds of years. The working man paid his groat at the inn. This was hundreds of years ago, OK? The working man comes along, filthy old peasant with a stick or something like that. You know what I mean? Yeah. Comes out of
the old peasant.
Yeah, comes out of the field.
They've been all ethically cleansed out of Shoreditch, but I think you'll find.
Yeah, I think they have. Yeah. But he, comes out of the field where he's been ploughing the field all day. He pays his groat at the inn, and what happens then is you get a mug of ale, but you also get a guaranteed seat by the fire to warm up after your day in the field. Okay.
Right.
And in the coffee houses of London in the 1700s, when Samuel Pepys was writing his diaries and all that kind of stuff, it says the first coffee houses paid handsomely for the exotic brew, and with it the use of a newspaper and a chance to hear other customers' news. Right. This is where the word political salon started. Yeah. So you go in, you paid an entrance fee, you got free ale, a newspaper. Well, I mean, the newspapers are very basic in those days. Yeah, right. And dialogue with the other customers.
They didn't have pull-outs on 50 Shades of Grey like they have now.
They certainly didn't. No. By the way, that film has been panned. Yeah, the first reviews have just come in.
I think you should go and do it and review it.
It's just... I wouldn't.
No, I think you should go and see it.
I wouldn't watch that
you must.
All the tea in China.
Must. Well, I'll give you... I'll make a better offer than all the tea in China. You must go and review it. I wouldn't
dream of picking up the book. I wouldn't watch it. It is drivel from start to finish, and it's exploitively sexual, and I'm not interested, honest to God. But anyway, look, I'm saying that this lot, Zephyr Blatt, have started a trend.
I think it's a ridiculous idea.
No, it's not. I'd pay £3 an hour to be in a pub.
Would you?
If the drink was free, wouldn't you?
Well, the drink's not going to be free. That's my point. What you're advocating,
the coffee's free.
Coffee's easy to produce for nothing.
Oh, by the way, coffee should be banned from pubs. You should ban coffee from pubs immediately. The amount of bar staff who spend all their time making cups of coffee, which takes 10 times the time it takes to run off a pint of beer, pull a pint of beer. It's got to be banned. Got to be banned.
No, you're all about banning everything all the time. You're not much of a libertarian. Absolutely unbelievable. We're going to find out. I'm still going to try and find out what's going on with the wet room, because I think there's been some news updates on that.
The audience aren't interested in my wet room.
Lots more to come. We are the two mics. Down at Porky's penthouse of horrors, things have taken a turn for the worse. Last time we heard an update from Mr. Parry, the Polish builders had been thrown out of the house and he'd had to find some new contractors to come in and fit some pipes. Now Mr. Parry's going to explain where it's all going.
I don't think the audience are that bothered. I don't think the audience are that bothered about my wet room.
Yes, they are.
I think they're bored stiff.
They want constant updates.
Well, all right, I will very briefly tell you.
So what happened today?
Oh, well, today was a bit of a nightmare, actually. I mean...
He's now got his head in his hands in that very funny way that he does.
Overnight, Tuesday into Wednesday is my longest day.
It is a long day for you, yeah.
Because after, happily working with yourself, I then returned to the studio with Mr. Brazil and Ray Parlour, both delightful chaps to work with, but always tempting at the end of that sort of show to go and accept Al's invitation to go to the Gun.
Yes,
so
because he was being a bit cheeky this morning. I heard him make reference to your, people running 100 metres in 1 second.
Yeah, he did,
Straight off the top.
Straight off the top.
You can always tell when he's in one of those moods.
That's right. And then said, Mr. Parry will be joining us, because my mother always thinks I go drinking every Wednesday, because Mr. Brazil always refers to, Porky, coming down the pub after the show. and of course...
which time you've been up for about 38 hours,
Yeah, yeah, and of course I do, and I behave myself. Anyway... So it was so tempting, because it was a cold day today, and I said the log fire is roaring in the Gun, and Ray and I are going down there looking over the River Thames, and, I was very tempted. But anyway, there are things I have to do, as Tommy Shelby would say in Peaky Blinders. Yes. That's great when he says that. It's a bit like, when all the films were on about the gangsters, Al Pacino and all that, The Godfather, there were certain expressions, weren't there, like... make him an offer he can't refuse.
Exactly.
Well, with Tommy Shelby, when people say, Tommy, can't you come and see me? A woman or something like that, or some guy says we've got to meet, he says, I'll come later. Yeah. There are things I have to do. And it means he's got to go off and kill somebody. Right. Or organise somebody to be killed or something like that, But anyway, point of the story is, so I said to Al, there are things I have to do. And what I had to do was, because I am now desperately trying to resolve the situation with the wet room, I'm trying harder than ever to initiate it myself.
Right, because you've got a new team coming in, haven't you?
New team coming in. The scouts arrived this morning.
And you had to pay the old team, by the way.
What?
Have you had to pay the old team?
Oh, I'm still in discussions about that.
Right.
You know,
contractual
negotiations. Right. But anyway, so the scouting guy comes. He comes up to look at the job and all that. Eventually, they decide they can do it and all that kind of stuff. But the foreman can't get here until next Tuesday. And instead of lugging all the materials up from where he's coming, which I think is Brighton on the coast or something, he said to me, have you got a local B&Q? I said, it's a massive one. I said, massive. He said, it's on about 4 floors. They've built their own roundabout. They've got a multi-storey car park. And they've got one of those ascending walkways.
Oh, really?
Not an escalator, an ascending walkway.
Wow.
Yeah, it's that big.
Must be big.
It's that big, yeah, it's huge.
Must be mobbed then, mustn't it?
Hey?
It must be mobbed. Really busy.
Yeah, it is very busy, yeah, and it sells flower stuff, not flower stuff for gardens and all that kind of stuff.
Garden centre.
Yeah, garden centre, everything.
Sheds.
Sheds. It sells loads of sheds. Yeah, I've seen loads of sheds there. And so anyway, he said, look, the materials I need are this. I said, I don't know. I'll go and have a look for you because I didn't want to delay the job any longer. So I was trading around B&Q with this checklist of stuff, you know, do they have it here and all
you
this
shouldn't
kind
have
of
to do that. Surely that's their job.
Well, they said it would take longer if I didn't. So I said, well, I'll do it. So I did. And then, of course, I had to go to the pub, the old bank, for a dress rehearsal for the opening on Friday night.
Right.
And, you know, basically, they were a little indecisive as to which way they wanted it done, so we sorted all that out. That's all sorted. So I've had a hell of a day. But the punchline is the wet room will be done by...
So did you buy all this stuff in B&Q?
No, I just had to make sure it was there.
Yeah, but it might not be there by the time they go and buy it.
No, they've got tons of it, haven't they?
Have they?
Piping, you know, plastic, copper piping, tiles.
Yeah, but you see, you know what the flaw in all of this is that, you know, yes, they'll have all that, and of course they will have all that, but just at the point that they want to buy it, they'll go down there and they'll come to you and they'll go, yeah, we've got everything except for one thing. No. And they won't be able to do the whole job because of one thing.
No, I won't accept that.
For want of a shoe, the horse was lost. And all that.
I won't accept that. If that happened, I'd get heavy.
And were there lots of people in there, as we keep being told by the papers, buying all sorts of, you know, ropes and sellotape and gaffer tape?
50 Shades of Grey?
50 Shades of Grey stuff?
No, I didn't see any of that. What a load of nonsense that is. One national newspaper's done, you know, the cheapest form of trick that you and I were doing 25 years ago in journalism and sent somebody down to B&Q to buy bondage ropes and all sorts of nonsense.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I know.
Honestly, try and make up news like that, I think it's pathetic.
Yeah, you'd never have done anything like that.
I'd never have done anything like that, no.
So when is the new wet room starting to be made then?
Next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday.
And it'll be finished by the weekend.
Really?
That weekend.
I think we'll need to see pictures of it when it's done.
No, I'm not showing anybody pictures inside of my house.
I think it'd be nice.
No.
Well, no, you can take them in such a way that you're not giving anything away.
No, not doing that at all.
Right.
No. You don't want to put pictures of your children on the website and all that, or even your dog. So,
well, my dog's appeared on my Twitter feed a couple of times.
I know, but not his name.
We don't give his name out.
Nobody knows his name, you see, except me.
Well, that's a precaution. That's a precaution, so people don't steal him.
Yeah, well, OK.
Well.
Yeah, I don't mind that. So that's all going on. So a hell of a day today, see, and eventually I get in here and sort it out. So why were we talking this in the first place?
Because we wanted to get an update on your,
you've got
your wet room.
You've got it. I'm going to show you a picture now, which is going to melt your heart.
Go on.
Have a look at this.
Hang on. Well,
and I'm going to take a picture of this and put it out on Twitter. Do you know what it is?
What'll they say to my brood? Matilda the duck went missing from her farm for more than a month, then returned with 13 little ducklings in tow.
Isn't that incredible?
That is nice.
Isn't that incredible? So,
incredible.
So if you read it on, what happens is she was one of a load of ducks on this little small holding.
Yeah.
And one morning they noticed she was missing, and they thought that's terrible.
Dorset.
Yeah, down in Dorset. She's either gone off on her own or she's been had by a fox or something like that.
Yeah.
And in fact, what she'd done is she'd gone and laid her eggs, and she decided to go off and sit on them for 2 weeks because she had 13
that's not
eggs.
Particularly unusual behaviour, is it, for a duck?
Well, it is to do it in secret and all that because she wanted to make sure the foxes didn't get it. And then, you know, all of a sudden, they're having their breakfast one morning. What's her name? Matilda comes back and she's got 13 little ducklings waddling along behind her. That's a fantastic story.
Well,
I love it. I love it. It warms the heart.
I couldn't care less.
You see, that's a very cold-hearted thing to say.
No.
I'm in a duck conservancy, and the picture of all these little ducklings all, you know, sort of squeaking around their mum is utterly fantastic.
There are far more important stories.
I'm going to take a picture of this, folks, and I'm going to put it on my Twitter account and send it out so you can all see it. It will make your hearts... what our hearts do? Sing, make your heart sing, and it'll bring tears to your eyes, and whilst you're looking at it, reflect on what a miserable, uncaring, and curmudgeonly individual, or Mike Graham is, who says, I couldn't care less about this story.
I literally couldn't. Now, let me read you some tweets.
That's Matilda.
That is Matilda. Becky says this. There won't be any door handles to get in the pub either, and greetings have to be using the knee system. This is in any pub that you run. Chris says, bladderation, outstanding word. Mark says, come down to Hope pub in Carshalton, Mike. Great pub, no music, no fruit machines, etc.
What's it called?
It's a proper pub. The Hope pub in Carshalton.
The Hope? I knew Carshalton very well. There's a wine bar by the ponds.
Right.
There's the Windsor Castle, which is there. No,
You've got an encyclopedic knowledge of pubs in Surrey, haven't you?
There's the Greyhound, which is right opposite the ponds as well. I don't know the Hope. I'll have to go and find that.
Yeah. There you go. Well, it's got no fruit machines and no music.
Excellent.
Andy says, is this pub Parry's opening the same one he's buying all those drinks for the fans for? You shouldn't let him wiggle out of his forfeit.
No, that's down in Bournemouth. Yeah. By the way, you just mentioned the old... What would you say the greeting was? Oh, knocking knees.
The knocking knees. That was something you suggested earlier because it was part of your germs thing, wasn't it?
But guess who's been listening to me?
Who?
Sir Richard Branson.
Oh, yeah.
He has vowed to give up handshaking now forever. He said he's shaken so many hands during his lifetime as a business tycoon. He's all his muscles gone and the bones have been crushed.
Maybe that's more likely to have happened since he was when he used to pick women up. Do you remember he always used to pick women up and
turn them upside down?
He did it to Ivana Trump.
Yeah.
He did it famously to one of the newsreaders in a rather embarrassing fashion.
He did, yeah.
Who was that?
It wasn't Connie Young, was it?
No, it wasn't Connie Young. No, it was somebody on the BBC. I think.
Oh, was it? Okay,
it wasn't Fiona Bruce. It was somebody like that.
Yeah, somebody like that. But anyway, he now says, I'm sorry, but in future, I don't mean to be rude, but it's going to be the thump. You know, the fist.
Oh, yeah, the golf thing.
Yeah, is that it? That's golf, is it?
They started doing it in golf, yeah.
Oh, have they? Is that what it is?
Well, I think that's where it started.
Or it's going to be the high five. And actually, I don't blame him. Because, I mean, for instance...
You can't high five complete strangers.
Why?
Well, because it's weird.
It is weird, but...
And also, if they don't know that's what you're going to do, then they're not going to respond, are they?
All right, maybe the fist.
Mind
then.
you, I suppose hitting your knee against theirs is not going to go down too
well
well either.
That's
if
true.
Expecting it.
But I mean, look, for instance, right, tomorrow I'm opening this pub, all right, the Old Bank. Yeah. Now, I might have to shake hands with maybe 1,000 people.
What, when the pub opening thing?
Yeah. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Because, meeting and greeting and all that, I'm mine host and all that kind of stuff. Oh, that would be a little antisocial. Would be a little antisocial. So there's 2 points. First of all, you do get your hand crushed, because people do like to make out they're tough guys, and crush your hand and all that sort of stuff. But
you've got quite a sort of firm handshake,
Well, I have, yeah, but also, you don't want to be shaking hands with 1,000 people and your bones are all mashed together and all that kind of stuff. So I might give it the old thump tomorrow night, you know what I mean?
Well, maybe if you announce it now, and you could announce it on Twitter, anybody who's coming expecting to shake hands should have their fist ready.
Right, so it'll be the fist.
Just touch fists.
Problem is, somebody will probably get very inebriated, and as soon as I produce my fist, they'll produce theirs, bang, break my jaw. That could happen.
Well, let's hope violence doesn't break out.
A misunderstanding,
Here's some more tweets. You can tweet us, of course, at the two Mikes, at Mike Parry 8 and at IROMG.
Yeah.
Jim says this, you guys can't charge by the hour in pubs. The journalist profession would all be penniless and homeless within the month. Yeah. Which is not bad. Ryan says, if Porky bottles the jump off Bournemouth pier, I reckon we should force him to watch 50 Shades of Grey as a substitute.
Sure.
And
I'd rather jump off the pier.
Here's one from Roy, who says, I feel as if Mike Parry would be a terrible landlord, everything would be banned, and he wants to commercialise pub tables.
What does that mean?
Well, you want to charge people for sitting there.
I do, yeah. I think that's a good idea. I think it's a great idea, honestly. I think it's the best idea I've had for a long time.
And here's one from Dash, who's obviously in the building trade.
Yeah.
He says, oh, my God, not in 22 years of building have I sent a customer to look for gear for a job.
Yeah.
So I think whatever this crew is that you've somehow picked up, I don't know where you found them from, it doesn't sound as though they're going to be the right people to do your job for you.
No, they say they'd do it, but they said if they came...
Yeah, but they don't. Why would they send you down to B&Q to see if they've got
Because they said if they came and the stuff wasn't there, it would delay the start of the job by another day while they went to suppliers where they could find it, right?
Yeah, but you didn't buy it, though. So just because you saw it when it was there yesterday doesn't mean it's going to be there next Tuesday, does it?
Right, now then...
You've just completely ignored what I said.
No, I haven't.
You have.
You're trying to contradict me all the time.
And I'm just trying to help you out.
No,
don't forget, I was the one that told you that you'd have massive problems with your roof terrace. I was the one that told you should get permission from the rest of the people in the building. You didn't heed my advice, and as a result, now you're locked in some kind of ridiculous maze of lawyers and a web of intrigue, and it's never going to get done.
All being sorted.
No, it's not.
Being sorted. Right, now then, old Phil here says in a tweet...
Phil who?
I don't know. Phil. He says, old Porky's moaning about beer being given away.
Yeah.
2 days ago, he was telling us he's giving it away to London's homeless.
No, you're giving it away to Gosport's homeless.
Gosport's homeless, yeah. And then old Freddie says... Is the old bank prepared for the inevitable riot that will occur on Friday? Presumably, Freddie's insinuating that I will get out of hand. And
well, no, I think the problem is that you've publicised it so much that it might be like one of those Facebook parties where loads of people turn up that you weren't expecting.
More the better.
Well, how many people can it hold, this pub?
Oh, hundreds.
Really?
Literally, yeah. Will you be there by 9 a.m. for, quote, rehearsal purposes? There's a very good chance I will be, directly from working here with Mr.
Yeah, because that's
Graham.
what you do normally, isn't it? You go to the pub for breakfast.
No, I don't. Sometimes I do. The Hope... come down to the Hope pub in Corshire. I don't know where that is. I'll go and find out.
I just read that one out to you.
I know.
I've got directions. Apparently it's on West Street, somebody's saying.
Oh, West Street. I know West Street. In fact, I've got a house just off West Street.
You've got a house there?
Yeah. Oh,
how nice.
It's around a place called...
Who lives in that one, then?
I don't know. It's rented out by a...
slum landlord.
No, not a slum landlord.
No idea.
By a local estate agent.
So many properties you don't even know who's living in them.
I know exactly where it is.
Maybe you could go round there. You might find your bank account book for the Cheltenham and Gloucester 12 grand, the missing 12 grand.
If that chap's listening now, there's a green, right?
Which chap?
The chap who
the guy just tweeted us
about the home.
Well, I think he is listening.
I know where
West Street is.
I know where West Street is, and
is it near East Street.
No, it's not. It's opposite a park, and it's on a road.
It says it's by Carshalton Station.
Oh, Carshalton Station. Yeah, I know where that is as well. Yeah, I know where it is. Right. I know where it is now. In fact, I can visualise it in my head.
So happy.
Yeah, I know.
I just told you exactly where it was.
Exactly, yeah, it's good.
I've never seen a man so enthusiastic about the name of a pub.
That's right. Yeah, well, I've realised.
I'm never giving you a quiz on the pubs of Surrey because you get 100%.
I certainly would.
ABBA quiz tomorrow, of course.
ABBA quiz. That, honestly, if I don't get 8 out of 10 out of that, I'm giving up the quizzes. Yeah.
Well, this is Talk Sport Extra Time. We are the Two Mics. There will be a podcast coming out on iTunes in a few hours' time. Just keep an eye out on at the Two Mics Twitter feed and we'll let you know. I did have a tweet earlier from somebody today asking if I could tell him what this piece of music was that opens our show.
Right.
I still don't actually know, and nobody behind the glass knows either. So if anybody else knows, by all means tell us and we can tell everybody else.
Yeah.
But just a bit of very sad news to bring you. I've got a story here. Somebody's tweeted it. Bob Simon, correspondent for 60 Minutes, who you might remember from when we were in the States, has been killed in a car crash on the West Side Highway in New York. He's 73 years old. He was a passenger in a taxi travelling south on 12th Avenue West 30th Street when the car slammed into another Mercedes-Benz driven by a younger man, and he's been killed. It's terrible story, that, isn't it?
That's the road that snakes past all the piers. And
it does, It comes down where the QET used to come in and ends up down at the financial centre and everything.
Good God, that's terrible.
That's a very big shot.
And it was a taxi, it wasn't his own car.
He wasn't driving, no.
No, but I mean, he wasn't being chauffeured or anything. It was like a yellow cab, was it?
No, well, they say it was a livery cab. It was probably one of those big sort of limo-type cars that we used to ride around in. And it used to be a very dangerous road, that, the West Side Highway, because everyone's doing the same speed and overtaking and undertaking and all that kind of thing, you know?
Same as the highway on the other side. What do you call it? East River Drive.
Yeah, the FDR.
Yeah.
He was, funnily enough, he was in Bosnia at the same time as me.
Was he?
And I remember thinking, I've finally made it now. I'm actually in a war zone, and here's Bob Simon as the correspondent for CBS.
I know exactly what you mean. Years ago, I was in Israel doing the War of the Sea of Galilee.
Right.
And it was very old-fashioned those days. We didn't have mobile phones even and like that, so you could go missing for days, you know what I mean?
Right.
And all that kind of stuff. But you were always escorted around everywhere by the IDF, Israeli Defence Forces, basically the Israeli army, you know what I mean? In sort of...
not to be messed with.
Not to be messed with and all that kind of stuff. But we arrived at one camp, right, and I thought, who is this guy? He was an American, and you always tell when the American correspondents are there, they look very American, you know what I mean? And
they're all kitted out properly as well,
and all this kind of... But this guy actually had a typewriter on the front of a tank, and he was standing there, he was smoking a huge cigar, right? And he was
very glamorous.
No, just a showman. He was just a showman. Yeah. So a huge cigar he was smoking. He was talking at the same time. So he was telling us what he was typing. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
And typing very loudly, the keys on a battered old typewriter and all this kind of stuff. You know, my copy will be filed back to Washington D.C. and all this kind of stuff. You know. And I thought he was a guy, and he turned out to be?
Who?
Piers Salinger.
Oh, really?
And Piers Salinger
the New York Times.
Of the New York Times, but he was John F. Kennedy's press officer.
That's right, he was, yeah.
And wrote his speeches and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And this man was a legendary American correspondent, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But what a pain in the neck.
Really?
What a pain in the butt. Everything revolved around this guy. You know, he had an entourage with him.
Right.
He wouldn't travel anywhere in the world without, 4 people to carry his bags.
Yeah.
And all. I mean, it was in the days when American newspapers had bundles of money because they were the first to discover new technology in newspapers.
Right.
So they had very, very tiny production staffs and huge editorial budgets.
They always had great kit as well.
Absolutely,
Well, the reason I discovered that Bob Simon was actually in Bosnia, I was living in this little house in Vitesse, because there weren't hotels or anything. You just had to stay in some house or other. And it was right across the road from the British Army camp.
Yes.
And I'd been in there, as I used to do every night, into the sergeant's mess, which was the best place to go, where you could have a drink and you could buy cigarettes for like 50p a packet or something like that. And I was walking back in the mist and suddenly came upon this huge guy with a massive machine gun who was standing outside my house, who had never been there before.
And you wondered why.
And he was Bob Simon's bodyguard.
Was he?
Because he travelled with a bodyguard. And I was like, well, that's the way to go, isn't it?
This Piers Salinger, I mean, he regaled us with stories of John F. Kennedy's infidelity. Yeah. And I said, it's amazing stuff. I said, I've never read this anywhere. He said, no, it's the unwritten code. You know, we don't talk. What goes on in the White House stays in the White House.
Well, apparently not.
Well, not these days.
But not if he was telling you.
No, but what he said was, he said, I had a million offers to put. I could have made $10 million and all that. He said, but, John F. Kennedy was my friend. Right. And he ruined my friend in death as he was in life. Right. All this kind of drama, you know what I mean? Right. But a very colourful man. But, pain in the butt. Right. Real difficult. Right. Anyway,
very sad news about Bob Simon.
Yeah, that's very sad news indeed. And we have a lot of friends over there who are correspondents. Whatever happened to Dick, who worked for WNXS or whatever it's called?
WNXS?
Yeah.
Dick Oliver.
Who
used to be the news editor of the Daily News.
That's right.
Ended up working for WPIX, I think it was.
That's right,
the radio
WPIX.
station. And then he ended up working for Fox. I mean, he was one of the first guys that worked
to Fox, did he?
For Murdoch when he was running Fox 5 as the news station in New York.
Okay.
And he used to be their kind of roving reporter.
Sure.
But he's retired now. I saw him at my 50th birthday party.
Did you?
Ago, yeah.
Oh, right, okay, yeah. Well, he's still going.
His
brother, of course, was the boy, I'm sure I've told this story before, who had such a love of booze.
Yeah.
That when he remember he bought that A-frame house upstate.
That's right.
And he had the house warming party.
Had the punch, the inflammable punch.
Yeah. I mean, talk about a house warming party. It actually became a house burning party because he made this punch that was so strong. And he was dipping glasses in and handing them to people. Have a glass of punch. It was so strong. It was almost like pure alcohol. Yeah. Nobody could actually drink it. So everybody was taking one sip and then choking and throwing it in the plant pot or something, And he said, why don't you guys like my punch? And he'd had about 3 bottles of it himself. Right. He says, as far as I'm concerned, you can all go to hell. And he picked up the bowl of punch. He threw it on the fire for some unknown reason.
And then it exploded.
It set fire to the house. Right. I mean, everybody just about got out with their lives.
He was a guy that lived down by a pub in the south end of Manhattan, just next to the New York Post.
Yes.
And it opened at 8 o'clock in the morning. South Street. Yeah, opened at 8 o'clock in the morning. And he would go to the pub literally before his shift started.
Really? For an hour?
Yeah, for an hour or two. Sometimes he wouldn't make it out of there and they'd have to ring him and go, are you coming into work or not?
Yeah. But his boss, a man called Dunleavy, the news editor, he spent 2.5 days in that pub.
He did. 2.5
days without surfacing and was he face down in his spaghetti, wasn't he?
Something
Bringing
like that.
Back into the building. Anyway, that's another story. Now, I want to talk to you about the urban fox. I told you before that the urban fox is a massive threat to civilization itself. And I'm going to read you a report about it. I suppose I'll not start the report now because you'll start shouting, look at the light in a minute, won't you?
Well, you can start it. We've got a couple of minutes.
All right, I'm going to tell you, right? Now, what's happened is society is in turmoil in a place called, is it Wandsworth? Wandsworth.
South London?
Yeah,
Southwest London?
Yeah, I'm just trying to... Is it Wandsworth or another one? I've got it.
Well, it could be one. I've no idea.
Well, it's near Wandsworth Common.
Okay.
No, it's Tooting Common. Tooting Common.
Okay.
Right, Tooting Common.
Yeah.
And what's happened is the foxes around there are now so virulent, okay, and there are so many of them, and they are so unafraid of human people and society that they're
human people?
Yeah, they're walking in and out of people's homes. Yeah. They're jumping over people's fences, ravaging their bins. Right. They're coming up to windows and aggressively bashing on the windows, asking for food.
Which is not so much of a problem now, but when summer comes and windows are open, then it will be more of a problem.
Yeah, but what has happened, and the reason why society is now about to explode with these foxes, is that there are a group of people who say, well, the best thing to do is to leave food out for them, and then they won't start going around.
No.
Right? That's
a bad idea.
Right, that's one point of view. The other point of view, and it's right at the other extreme of scale, is that somebody's gone around Tooting Common leaving pieces of cheese lying around, which foxes apparently like, but laced with arsenic,
dear.
And what's happened is two dogs that people take to walk on Tooting Common have picked up and eaten this cheese and died.
Oh, goodness.
So society it's a bubbling, boiling pot.
Yeah, it is.
And it's about to explode. But I'm going to read you some of the reports here. The foxes run wild, they ransack bins, they eat small pets, they spread mange to dogs. So they're spreading, it's called mange. Apparently that is
mange.
Mange is when dogs' coats start.
It's mange, it's not mange.
It's mange. It's called mange. It's called mange.
It's like mange too, since you're talking about Wandsworth and Tooting.
But anyway, they foul public areas so extensively it begins to make no difference whether dog owners look after their own pets. The paths are unwalkable. They are bold and fearless. They saunter about in the streets in broad daylight quite casually. Sometimes there are easily more foxes than people walking the pavements by the houses in the suburban developments.
That's possible, but it sounds a bit of an exaggeration. Well, what's your solution to this, then?
Hang on. It cannot be right. It's not natural. They are not meant to be in our habitat, but they've been encouraged by misguided people who are feeding them.
Yeah, you can't feed them. That's a really bad idea.
Feeding them. And the reports of taxi drivers, black taxi drivers, who don't live there, but who drive past throwing sausages onto the common for the foxes.
What?
Yeah, and the foxes gather at night.
That's very stupid.
And want these, right?
Well, all that's going to do is create more foxes and more demand for the sausages and the cheese. Right,
now then, when you say what is the solution...
Yeah, what is it?
Well, protest groups have built up and they've approached the authorities. That is there's not a Greater London Council, it must be the local council, Lambeth Council, I think, or something like that. I don't know. No, it wouldn't be Lambeth around there, would it? It'd be Wandsworth, is it? Yeah, Wandsworth Council or something. And apparently it's all down to Boris Johnson, the mayor, who has made noises... every time you read one of these terrible stories about a fox getting into a home and attacking a baby and all that, but nothing has been done. It's now completely out of control, and what the people of that part of London want is the right to hire people who are trained marksmen to come around and start shooting them.
Well, they might have to.
By the dozen.
It might come to that.
Yeah.
Now, just look into the light for a moment, because we've got to have a little a pause here, but we've got much more to do. We've got some information coming in on that song that we play at the top of the hour, and I shall be telling you what people are saying about that. This is TalkSport. We are the Two Mics. TalkSport Extra Time. We are the Two Mics. There will be a podcast coming out, and of course, everybody will recognise that piece of music. It is Thunderbirds from the old children's TV show.
It certainly is.
Which was one of the great shows.
Oh, I mean, one of the legendary shows of my life. Literally, one of the legendary shows of my life.
Who was your favourite Thunderbird?
Well, I always used to imagine myself as a Thunderbird pilot.
Did you?
And so I liked the guy who flew the one that had the big containers in the middle, the green one. So
Thunderbird 2?
Thunderbird 2 was Tracy, wasn't it?
Well, they were all called Tracy.
Oh, of course, they were all called Tracy. Sorry, well, hang on, who was the guy who...
Tracy, she was good.
Who was the guy who flew straight up the rocket?
There was Virgil.
Scott,
there was
Virgil.
Thunderbird 1, there was Scott, there was Virgil. There was Parker, Lady Penelope.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure I can remember any of the others.
Yes, my lady.
Yeah. By the way, a lot of people I should give credit to, including Henry and Peter, who have said that piece of music we play at the top of the show is called Bongo Rock by the incredible Bongo Band.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Which
well
I didn't
done.
know. And also Kevin in Glasgow told us that as well. And so did Mark from, where is he? Yeah, Mark from Glasgow, I think, as well.
Excellent. Anyway, look, the reason I'm talking about Thunderbirds, I read recently that they're bringing it back. And it won't be in puppet form anymore. You won't see the strings and the disjointed
walking. That was all part of the charm.
Well, of course it was, and all that. They're bringing it back in with modern technology. 26-part series on ITV this spring. And
with real actors or with
no, it's animated, but it's with modern, very ultra modern
CGI.
Yeah, I don't know. They still look like puppets, but they don't have strings or the jerky movements. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's all been done electronically.
A bit like the Lego Movie.
Excuse me. Yeah, a bit like that, I suppose. Yeah, well, I've not seen that, obviously.
What do you mean, obviously?
Well, if I'd seen it, I'd have talked about it, wouldn't I?
Well, I don't know.
In the Porkyvision
I don't know. What did you last...
review.
Well, no, we can't mix up Porkyvision and cinema.
I'm going to go and see. I'm going to go and see Shaun the Sheep. I'm determined to go and see Shaun. I'm going to go and see him on Friday.
Okay.
Before I open my pub.
Go and see him.
Well, the film, because it sounds really good. There's no foul language in it. There's no despicable behaviour.
There's no language of any kind in it, I don't think.
No, that's right. Of course, there's no words. Yeah, it's not really foul language. You're right. Anyway, look, what I was going to say about Thunderbirds is I am just appalled that they're bringing it back.
Why?
Because when you bring things back, you ruin them. you ruin them completely
Not
and
necessarily.
utterly. Yes, you do. You do. And you know, if we can't all still have the memories of
I mean, for example, Batman, right? You remember the original Batman show?
All the recreations of Batman were terrible.
No, they weren't.
They were shocking compared to the original.
Some of the Batman films were really good.
The original Batman was fantastic because they took the mickeys out of themselves.
Yeah.
My favourite scene in Batman, the original one, right? Batman and Robin hiding behind all these cases in a warehouse, and there's at least 30 men with machine guns firing at them, okay? Yeah. And all of a sudden, all the firing stops. Yeah. And Robin says to Batman, Batman, why do you think they've stopped firing? And Batman says, it's okay, Robin. They've run out of ammunition. Gee, Batman, how do you know that? I was counting the bullets. I mean, that's fantastic,
That was good.
Eh?
Yeah.
That is fantastic.
But you can't denounce, nevertheless, the other movies that were made in Jack Nicholson as the Joker.
Oh, no, they were terrible. They were shocking.
Heath Ledger as the Joker.
The other great line was when they...
Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, it's fine.
You carry on.
No, I thought they were awful, and I thought the Batmobiles were awful and everything, because I liked the original Batmobile and the butler, Alf, who had his own
Alfred.
He had his own form of transport, the Alf bike. He had the Alf bike, didn't he?
He was in all of the other movies as well, though.
The other line I loved was when one of the evil villains, and they were all evil, weren't they? The Penguin, Penguin and all that. They dropped them in a bath of acid. And
Burgess Meredith was the Penguin, wasn't he?
He was, yeah, that's right, yeah. And anyway, that was the end of one episode. And the next episode, they climbed out the bath of acid, and Batman said, Robin, thank goodness I had the foresight to put on the acid-proof underwear today.
Yeah, right.
I love it.
Right. I'll tell you a funny story, actually. There was a guy, because, it was Jerry Anderson that did all those things, right? And it was this amazing...
No, Jerry Anderson did Thunderbirds. He didn't do Batman.
Yeah, I know. I'm talking about Thunderbirds.
Okay, yeah.
Thunderbirds.
Yeah, we are talking about Thunderbirds.
Captain Scarlet, Thunderbird, Stingray.
Captain Scarlet and the Maestrons.
Mysterons.
The Maestrons.
No, it's the Mysterons.
The Maestrons, yeah. And what was the other one?
Stingray.
Stingray.
Yeah.
Stingray. Yeah, I love that as well.
Yeah.
Who was the love interest in that? Was Maria
Aquamarina, yeah.
Aquamarina.
So you've got an almost perfect recognition of things that happened way back in
they
decades ago.
Shouldn't bring Thunderbirds back, honestly.
Would you like to tell me what the interesting thing is I'm going to tell you?
Right, go on.
Or are you just going to keep interrupting me?
No, go on.
Well, it turns out that, all the voices are done by, many different people. And there was a guy called David Graham, who was no relation to me. But it turned out he lived next door to me when I was growing up. And we discovered, as a result of just my parents getting to know this guy, that he was one of the many voices for Thunderbirds.
Really?
And we used to go around his house at Christmas, and for cocktail parties and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And he would do the voices. It was brilliant.
Which voices did he do?
He could do all of them. But, I mean, he was actually employed to do, I think he did, the father in Thunderbirds.
Right, yeah.
And I think he did a couple of the other ones as well.
Amazing.
But he did all the voice, he just worked with Jerry Anderson.
Yeah.
So he could literally rattle off.
It was brilliant.
Anything. He could do Parker. He could also do the Stingray guys.
Yes, my lady.
Yeah, and he could do the Captain Scarlet. This is the voice of the Mysterons.
Yeah, this is the voice of the Maestrons. Yeah,
it's the Mysterons.
The Maestrons. What I loved about Parker was he looked like a bumbling old idiot. But when Lady Penelope in the back, when she's smoking her cigarette in her cigarette holder, Parker, I think we'll have to do something about that gentleman in front of us. Yes, my lady.
I used to have all the little toy cars. I had the toy Rolls Royce, the pink Rolls Royce.
Fantastic.
And I had the SPV, the Spectrum Patrol vehicle.
Funny enough, how far ahead of the game was Jerry Anderson when you think that today's Rolls Royces look exactly like the Lady Penelope Rolls Royce?
Well, they haven't got the four wheels at the front, have they?
Well, no, but the shape of them is very similar indeed. Very similar indeed.
True.
And what I was going to say was, Parker would then press a button, a machine gun would come through the grille at the front of the Rolls-Royce, and then you get rid of the enemy.
Jason has tweeted us the missing Thunderbird character that we've completely forgotten about is Brains.
Brains, of course, yeah. Brains, yeah. Yes, Scott.
Anyway,
got a new device.
Since you're doing this as a service to the public, when is all this going to be on the screens?
Right, no, what I'm saying is I don't think it should be. I think it's disgrace.
Well, stop banning things.
When I thought all the Batman movies were terrible compared to the original Batman. The original Batman was all based on farce, and so when Batman hit somebody, this caption
it's all based on comic books, isn't it?
Yeah, this caption would come up saying Biff and Zonk and Pow and all that, And Wonder Boy Robin, I mean, the only thing that was so unbelievable in the original Batman was that nobody recognised Bruce Wayne and his nephew when they didn't have their bat costumes on. You know what I mean?
What, Adam West and the other guy?
Yeah, it was so obvious who they were, wasn't it? You know. But anyway, that's bye-bye. Now, on the old Thunderbirds thing, I really don't think they should be allowed to bring it back because childhood memories like that should stay childhood memories.
Well,
they really
fine.
should.
But you say that, but there are lots of new children around and who might want to see it for the first time.
I wonder where the island was.
What, Tracy Island?
Yeah, nobody ever knew.
Was there not a real run on Tracy Island models? Remember they brought
I'm
them
sure
out
there were, yeah.
No, but I seem to remember it was a bit like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles I had to buy a load of for the Express one year.
Oh, I see.
And people would, they literally, every shop sold out of Tracy Island because you could buy the actual island. Yeah. And it had all the bits that would come out.
Well, the swimming pool would come aside and Thunderbird 1 came out of its bunker,
exactly.
No, unbelievable stuff.
I think there was because there's been a couple of kind of revivals of the original Thunderbirds and people have got very excited about it.
I always wondered where old Mr. Tracy Senior got all his money from to build things like space stations because they're quite expensive.
Well, he was kind of a modern day Bill Gates figure, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. Yeah, I suppose.
A guy that had made loads and loads of money in commerce and had decided to have international rescue.
You won't believe this. You won't believe this, Mike. When I was the news editor of the Express, right, there was some disaster somewhere. I can't remember where it was now. It was somewhere like I don't know, some unfortunate country like Turkey or something had an earthquake,
right.
And I sent a reporter down to the airport, to look at the relief. What's it called?
All the planes
operation, relief operation going now. Yeah. And he rang me up and he said, "I won't believe this. There's a bunch of guys here, and they've got badges on their shoulders, and it says International Rescue."
That's right.
I said, "No." I said, "You're having me on?" He said, "I'm not, honestly." And I said, "Go and get one of them." Get them on the phone. I said, "Who are you?" He said, "We are a bunch of volunteer firemen, and what we do is, when this happens," I said, "And why do you call it something?" I said, "Because we are all Thunderbirds fans, and we actually go out there and we help people." And there was a real international rescue.
I think it's still in existence.
Yeah, unbelievable. But
incredible.
I mean, well-meaning people, but they didn't have things like, Thunderbird 2, 3, 4, 5. What was the number of the one that went underwater?
That was 4, wasn't it?
That was 4.
It came out of Thunderbird 2, I think.
Did it? Yeah, could have been. But anyway, I just don't think they should bring it back. And it will dispel and ruin the myths of some of my childhood memories terribly. I'm against it. You're
against everything tonight. Here's one for you to ponder before we do Porkyvision, which is coming up next.
Okay.
Mike, do you remember the names of the crew in Fireball XL5?
Looney.
Don't say it now. Looney.
Yeah. Looney was...
Wayne Looney.
My name's Looney.
Look into the light.
It was Looney.
Look into the light. This is Talk Sport. Porkyvision coming up next. This is Talk Sport Extra Time. We are the two Mikes, and we're talking an awful lot about Thunderbirds. We've got loads and loads of tweets for reading out very shortly. Thanks for sending them all in, and a couple of other remembrances of other old shows that we want Mr. Parry to remember. However, it is time for Porkyvision, and time for you to give us the rundown of what you've been watching this week. Tell us about it.
Well, first of all, I've given up watching Wolf Hall now.
Have you?
Yeah, I can't watch it. It's too slow. I'm sure it's very good and meritorious and all that kind of stuff, but it's very, very slow. And another reason I can't watch it, Mike, is because I just can't handle the crepuscular way in which it's made.
The which?
The crepuscular way it's made.
Crepuscular?
Yeah.
What's that word?
Do you know what it means?
No, I don't.
You don't know what it means?
It's a word I've never heard.
It means in darkness.
Does it?
It means in darkness.
Crepuscular, how do you spell it?
You spell it like that. Crepuscular. E-R.
E-R?
Yeah, it's crepuscular. Crepuscular.
Say it again.
It's C-R-E-P...
C-R-E-P...
U-S...
U-S...
C-U...
C-U...
L-E-R.
All right.
Crepuscular.
Yeah, never heard of it.
And that, you don't know what that means?
No.
See, I told you I'm a student of the English language. You don't know what it means.
Well,
you know what it means.
I'd be amazed if you knew where that word came from.
Well,
what's its root?
Latin, of course.
You sure it's not French?
No, it's Latin, lack of light. And because they... But do you know how much they spent on candles for Wolf Hall? £20,000.
Really?
£20,000 on candles.
Why don't they just use the normal lights like everybody else does?
No, because it was all supposed... because they only had candles in those days. They didn't have electricity, did they? In Henry VIII's day.
No, I know, but you can use light to sort of, to reenact candlelight.
They wanted to make it absolutely genuine and all that. So that's why it's so crepuscular.
Crepuscular?
Crepuscular. Crepuscular.
That's resembling or relating to twilight.
That's right, exactly. It's exactly what I said. See? you were trying to catch me out again, weren't you?
Why use a word that nobody knows just to make out that you've got some kind of wonderful vocabulary? I mean, you would never use that word.
Mike, I use it every day. It's every day we have a twilight, and every day I think, oh, it's crepuscular time of the day.
I've never heard you say that word before.
Well, I don't use that sort of language when I'm speaking to you because you're so dim you wouldn't know what I was talking about.
Okay.
But everybody else, like millions of listeners of ours, have got a higher intelligentsia level, and they do know what's happening.
Level.
Now, so I've written off Wolf Hall. However, now there's...
It's too dark, in other words.
Too dark.
Right.
Now then, what I was going to say to you was...
What were you going to say? I know
Broadchurch.
you've got copious amounts of notes in Broadchurch. So quite a few people have said they haven't watched the Monday night episode, which I haven't watched either. So you can give us a rough overview, but try not to give anything away.
Broadchurch went right down, because it got complicated and all that. But the last two episodes, and particularly the one on Monday, was fantastic. It's come right back up.
Has it?
It is now an absolute winner. I never doubted it for a minute. And the latest revelations, I'm going to have to tell you about them because...
Well, can you not describe them in a way that doesn't give it away?
Well, people will have... If people haven't seen it, it's not my fault. For the millions of listeners who have seen it, they want my view on something they've seen, and I think it's fantastic.
Right.
And... excuse me. That's just the air conditioning.
You're not going to expire before the end of Porkyvision.
No. And what was brilliant about the latest one is that new twists to the plot are coming in all the time.
Yeah.
And the father of the dead boy, Danny, is on the point of being charged with his own son's murder. Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
That's easy.
No.
All right, say no more.
And when I say that, because they're trying to get the trial called off for the guy who's in the dock.
Surely it's not possible that he didn't do it.
Who?
The guy who's confessed to it.
Well, the guy who's confessed is in the dock.
He confessed to it.
No, but he's now pleaded not guilty.
No, I know that, but he confessed to doing it.
He's now pleaded not guilty, so what the barrister defending him is doing is...
He confessed to doing it, though.
Yeah, I know, but he says he didn't. He says the wording was, I feel responsible for his death, but you know what I mean? Didn't kill him. And they turned that on the father... Because the father's now started seeing Danny, the dead son's best mate, to try and feel closer to his son, because it reminds him of him, you know what I mean?
And she doesn't, and he doesn't want to see his own mother, does he?
Doesn't want to see his own mother and all that kind of stuff, right? And so the barrister, very cleverly...
All right, you don't have to tell us the whole story.
No, very cleverly, says to him, you said that you killed your son. And he said, I didn't. This is now the father of Danny.
Right, what, is he in the dock now?
No, but he's in the witness box.
Oh, okay.
Where were you on the night? And on the night...
Well, don't tell us where he was on the night.
No, he was having an illicit affair with the local hotel owner.
No.
He was having illicit sex in his van with her in the back of the van.
Full sex, was it?
Full sex. Full sex with her in the back of the van. And, and the van, where he was having full sex and it was rocking and rolling, right, was only 50 yards away from the point at where Danny was murdered.
Really?
So by an incredible coincidence... Yeah.
All right, that's enough Broadchurch.
Yeah.
What else have you been watching?
Right, I'll tell you what else I've been watching.
What about Fortitude? You were talking about that last week.
I've just given up on that. Just given up on it, honestly.
Too light, is it?
I can't make head much out of it.
Too much white
No,
light.
I decided to take it
What's the Latin word for that?
What?
Too light.
Well, how would I know?
Well, because you know what too dark is.
No, crepuscular is about twilight. So, I don't need to know what the word for dawn is, because dawn is a perfectly acceptable word.
Right.
Now, I decided I better watch the last episode of Last Tango in Halifax.
Okay. That's not something I've ever seen.
No, neither have I.
Any good?
Well, I only caught a bit of it, but I mean, from what I saw, it's absolute dross.
How much of it did you watch?
About 5 minutes. But the point is that you see, what I can't get is the lead character in it is Derek Jacobi.
Right.
Well, I only know Derek Jacobi.
I didn't know he was still alive.
No, exactly. I didn't either. And it's all supposed to...
Claudius, were you going to say?
No. I remember him. He's Cadfael. Do you remember Cadfael?
Yeah. That was good,
Cadfael, he's this kind of crazy monk, right, who goes around solving all sorts of murders.
Right.
And, I mean, there weren't enough people around in Middle Ages England to have a murder a week.
Well, I used to like that show. I thought it was very good.
I liked it, but that's what I'm saying. So when I see him now...
Well, there was at least one murder a week, surely, in the medieval times.
Well, I wouldn't have thought there was. But anyway, the point is that when you see him now acting modernly, I just can't take it. To me, he'll always be Cadfael.
Right.
But, I mean, to me, it was a load of...
Does he wear a habit?
Eh?
Does he wear a habit?
Don't be ridiculous.
Well, I don't know.
In Last Tango in Halifax, he's like he's a bloke with an old wife, and they sort of
an old wife.
Yeah, they're reflecting on the twilight of their lives. So they're in fact reflecting, aren't they, on the crepuscular period of their life?
Yeah. Well, there's a theme. I can see there's a theme developing.
Yeah, exactly.
What else have you been watching?
Right. What else have I been watching? I've also been watching some older stuff. Right.
Oh, yeah.
Now.
Well, is that it for the modern stuff then?
Well, what else?
Why are you not going to do Better Call Saul? I told you about it yesterday.
On what?
Better Call Saul. It's the new offshoot of Breaking Bad.
Oh, I don't know anything about that.
What's the biggest TV show of the week?
I watched a thriller called Spiral. And this is
this is the French show.
French show.
I watched that. That's great.
Right. Now,
don't tell me, because I haven't watched what happened last weekend.
It's dark, it's twisted, it's tangled, it's everything that...
There's a lot of full sex going on in that as well.
There is a lot of full sex going on, and a lot of people think this is the way the French people live, OK? But it is a good one. But if you don't want me to tell you anything about it, I won't.
No, please don't, because I haven't seen the last 2 episodes from last weekend.
I must admit, I haven't seen the full episode, so I can't
what
really
have you
tell
watched?
About it. Oh, well, the other thing I watched was, right, now what
Hang on, which bit of Spiral did you watch? Did you watch it last weekend then?
Well, I put everything on Skybox. Now, the problem is my Skybox has suddenly blown up, right? No joke. And
I can't take any more.
You know when you press R for record?
Yeah.
And then a little box comes up and says once or series, right?
Yeah.
I press series,
right.
and then I've missed about 3 episodes of Coronation Street because it didn't record.
Why not?
I don't know. But I tell you what,
maybe it's too much on it now.
No.
Everything?
No, I've got plenty of space on it, but I spoke to other people who said they're having the same problem.
Really?
And I think you have to switch it off for like 6 hours and then switch it back on again or something.
Maybe.
Something like that. Anyway, I'm sure it will sort itself out. Now, the other thing I've been watching, to go retro, retro, The Professionals. Remember The Professionals?
I do remember The Professionals,
Fantastic.
Bodie and Doyle.
But the only problem is, you see, although
They made the Sweeney look quite sort of macho.
Yeah, they...
It was a bit camp, I always thought, The Professionals.
Well, you know, the thing was, it was terribly sexist. When you look at it now, in those days, women were treated as, like objets. That's right, yeah. And, yes, that's right, sort of thing. And they were terribly macho, going around beating people up all over the place. But but
they were always kind of. I mean, they had the perms.
Doyle
had the perm, didn't he?
But the star of the show was the cars.
Yeah.
Because for a couple of sort of working policemen, well, not really policemen, they were like special branch type
people. They were meant to be I think they were also meant to be slightly intelligence service.
CI5, that's right, CI5. They had a fantastic range of cars. The RS 2000 Ford Escort, which, I mean, if you had one of those in my day, you were the king of the road.
Well, even better than a Vauxhall Viva, you mean?
Oh, you bet. Yeah. Oh, funny enough, I'll tell you about that in a minute. And Capris, which were great, and all sorts of things. Now, on the Vauxhall Viva, that's another retro.
Hang on, I thought you were going to tell me about The Professionals.
Well, I've told you. It's
well, that's it. That's your review.
They go around, bash a lot of people up, and a lot of women flutter their eyelashes at them. That's basically the plot.
Right.
But talking about Vauxhall Vivas, this is one thing.
This is not part of Porkyvision.
It is part of Porkyvision. Whatever happened to the Likely Lads?
Oh yeah,
I've been watching that.
Viva.
Yeah, Bob, had a Vauxhall Viva, turquoise coloured, exactly the same as the one I had. That was my first car ever.
Right.
Round about the same time. He bought a little...
Rodney Bewes, wasn't it?
Yeah, he bought a little 2-bedroom semi-detached house on an estate.
Right.
I bought one when I went to Manchester to work for the Express.
Yeah.
So I had a little...
So you're saying there are some parallels here?
Absolute parallels. Little semi-detached house with 2 bedrooms.
He was a bit of a dope as well, wasn't he?
No, the dope was Terry,
the
other guy.
No.
Bob
was the real dope.
He
just thought he was smart.
Terry.
He was an
idle individual.
No, he was a typical Wally because he thought he was smart because he wore a suit and he had quite a nice looking girlfriend and he had a crappy Vauxhall Viva car and he bought himself a crappy little terraced house. Very similar to you. And actually, it turns out that he in fact was the dope.
No. He had a turquoise Vauxhall Viva. He had a semi-detached house, 2 bedrooms.
He used to wear those ridiculous 3-piece suits.
Well, I had one.
Well, it doesn't surprise me.
I bought.
You are Rodney Bewes.
With the money that my uncles and aunties gave me for my 21st birthday, I went and bought a 3-piece pinstripe suit.
Shocking.
Exactly the same as Bob's, right? But it doesn't end there. I had sideboards like his, right? Yeah. I had hair. The hairstyle was exactly the same.
Right. And you were a prize Wally.
No,
as he was.
No, don't be ridiculous. And what I'm saying is, that was the aspirational age of the 70s, and I bought into it, absolutely. I was Bob. and Bob was me. You see what I mean?
Doesn't surprise me.
Because that reflected society absolutely perfectly.
Yeah.
It was written by Ian Lafrene and the other guy. What's his name?
Yeah, well, you're the TV reviewer.
Yeah, Ian Lafrene. I met Ian Lafrene when I worked on the Evening Chronicle in Newcastle.
Yeah,
Terrific
great.
guy.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So happy to hear it.
Yeah.
Let's finish with this one. Pat has tweeted at the two mics. Burt Ward, who played Dick Grayson, Robin, became a porn producer.
He did.
Did he?
He did. And do you know how he used to bill himself?
No.
Throbbing Robin. no, he did. He did.
I don't doubt it.
He did. When
I've
he became a porn
those.
producer, that was his moniker.
There we are.
How about that?
Can't go wrong
How
with
about
that.
having a moniker, Throbbing Robin?
Well, thank God you only copied the guy from the Lightning Lads instead of him. Imagine what could have happened. This is Talk Sport. That was Porkyvision with the two mics.
OK, Venus?
OK, Steve.
Right. Let's go.
Recognise this?
This is the start of Thunderbirds, isn't it?
No, it's Fireball XL5.
Oh, Fireball XL5. Brilliant.
We did Thunderbirds half an hour ago.
Yeah, well, I know we did, yeah.
And we played the theme tune to that.
So, why were we asking the names of the crew on Fireball XL5? One was a woman.
Well, somebody texted and asked if we knew.
One is Looney. One was...
Was it Looney?
Looney was, hello, I'm Looney.
See, I don't remember it that well.
Yeah, I remember Looney, yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I can't remember the pilot, though. Can't remember the captain.
Apparently it's Zuni, I'm told.
Oh, Zuni, OK, yeah.
It wasn't Looney at all.
Well, same thing.
Or Rooney.
No, it certainly wasn't Rooney. That's very interesting. What was Fireball XL5, by the way?
Well, it was another one of those Jerry Anderson shows, wasn't it?
Yeah, but no. It was the actual
space.
machine itself. It was like...
Was it not like a space station?
No, it moved. It moved around a bit.
See, I don't remember it that well.
Yeah,
I missed that one out.
I think it was like I think it was more like a Star Trek type vessel.
Yeah, maybe.
It was, yeah.
Maybe it was.
I'm sure it was.
You mean a spaceship?
Yeah, spaceship, that's right, yeah. Now, listen, I'm looking at the front of the Daily Mirror.
Yes.
It's a picture of Michael Gove getting out of his very expensive Jaguar.
Yeah, it's more kind of propaganda, isn't it, from the Mirror? Gove's 110,000 limo to go 400 yards.
Yeah, I nearly got one of these. Actually, I road tested one of these Jags. It's the big Jags, the XJ, lovely car.
They're really long ones.
Yeah, but too big for me.
You can't park them, really.
No, you can't park them and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, what I was going to say is, the expression he's got on his face as he's getting out of the car, Mike, is a dead ringer for you. And
actually, some people have said
I'm sending this picture out.
Some people say that I look a bit like Michael Gove.
Yeah.
I'm not sure it's somebody I want to look like, to be honest.
Well, he's got a much smaller head than you.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not being rude, but you've got a big fat head, a big fat face.
You're not being rude.
No.
Just as long as you're not being rude.
Yeah. Whereas he, of course, is... he
does look a bit like me, I must say.
Yeah, he does, yeah. Particularly as he wears the same glasses.
Same kind of glasses.
Yeah, exactly. He's wearing a blue and white scarf for some unknown reason. Didn't know
Do you think he's an Everton fan?
He's what?
Do you think he's an Everton fan?
No, he's not an Everton fan. I'd know that if that was true.
Maybe he's a Chelsea fan.
Could be.
He's from Scotland, isn't he?
I think he has Scottish ancestry.
I mean, he was adopted, so I'm not sure exactly where he's from originally. But
they're a well-plugged-in family, this, because his wife is Sarah Vine, obviously.
Yeah, who writes for the Mail.
Like to column the Daily Mail.
Yeah.
And now, because he, used to be Education Secretary, a job that he apparently liked doing, and has now been sort of reshuffled to Chief Whip, there's some thought he might step down from politics.
Ex-minister, don't they?
Yeah, that's right, yeah. And there's a bit of a whisper from across the road at the Daily Mail there, where we are friends, to say he might be getting lined up to be the next editor of the Daily Mail.
Really?
Yes, absolutely, yeah.
That would be extraordinary,
It would be extraordinary.
I mean, you could see him going back to the Times or something like that.
Yeah, because he came from the Times. He was
I'd be amazed if they'd given him the tabloid.
Yeah.
I'd be very surprised at that.
Yeah, so would I.
But what they say is that his chauffeur has driven him over the course of several days in February, 440 yards, 1 minute 13 seconds, from the New Palace Yard at the House of Commons from Downing Street. February the 4th, 440 yards, 2 minutes 2 seconds. But I mean, the trouble is,
it's all propaganda.
They all do this, and in the end, I mean, what are they supposed to do? They're supposed to walk around. I mean, there is some kind of terrorist threat going on, isn't there?
Yeah, but every paper does
Plus,
it.
you might be mistaken for me. Can you imagine?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then people start beating him up, and they say, "Why? You're the fat fool who upsets Porky Parry every night."
I don't think that would happen.
Yeah, I think it could. But don't remember that the papers of the right wing persuasion did exactly the same thing with John Prescott at the Bournemouth conference one year,
and his wife
when he drove 200 yards.
But that was his wife who wanted to not mess up her hair,
wasn't it? It was very chivalrous of him, wasn't it, to say, oh, it's not me, it's the missus. Yeah. She doesn't want her hairdo to get
like
blown
Lance
away.
Armstrong. Do you remember Lance Armstrong the other week when he crashed his car?
On the drink driving.
And tried to blame his girlfriend.
His wife.
Now, here's a question for you.
Go on.
From someone who does... Oh, Keith in Blackpool says, Mr. Parry, have you ever watched Monkey Life? It's filmed at Monkey World in Dorset.
No.
You would love it.
No.
And he says, P.S., when are you bringing your show up north? Have you got any news on that?
Well, let me tell you. As the Birmingham gig is looming, we've got to concentrate on doing that. But, the problem is, I don't want to disappoint anybody, but our scouts are out in Portsmouth, Leeds and Merseyside.
Okay.
And when we get a venue that we feel might suit us, probably about 500 seats or something like that, we shall try and move on that.
Okay.
And we
try and do it sometime in April, maybe.
Very much looking forward. That would be about right, okay. Towards the end of April,
Here's one from Woodenhead who's tweeted at the two mics. He says, the two mics were Thunderbirds. Mike Graham would be Brains and Mike Parry would be Parker, Lady Penelope's chauffeur.
Well, he was a good guy, Parker. I mean, he was a vital component of the organisation. He was the one who went around killing people who were trying to kill Lady Penelope.
That's right.
So I would take that as a great compliment. And as for Brains, he was the dullest bore in the world, wasn't he? All he used to do was invent, he was in fact he was the Thunderbirds equivalent of Q, wasn't he? Huh?
Yes, he was.
Yeah, you weren't listening, were you?
Yeah, he was.
Messing around with your stupid screen.
Well, it's not my stupid screen. It's my magic tablet.
Yeah, magic
where all these amazing messages come in. Here's one from Axel, who says he was watching Wolf Hall and thought it was pretty dark, so he checked out some words in the thesaurus.
In the thesaurus, that's
how
right.
you found that word, isn't it?
Yeah, right. I'm putting out a tweet now with this picture of Michael Gove. I want the listeners' verdict on whether this is the former Education Secretary and current Chief Whip, actually, Michael Gove.
Here's a picture of Fireball XL5, by the way.
Oh, there it is. It's fantastic, isn't it? It is absolutely wonderful. Right, now listen, one day to go before the end of this week, OK? You will not be able to cheat me in the quiz tomorrow.
Why not?
This is a matter which concerns our listeners. I'm not joking, Mike. All this week, I've been getting correspondence, emails, texts,
but it's
Twitters.
All what you would describe as it's all what you would describe as the feeble-minded, who are all moaning and groaning about the way the quiz is conducted. Because the way the quiz is conducted is perfectly scientific. It's perfectly straightforward. It is simply a series of questions which are drawn towards a particular subject.
Yeah, but you set them. You're trying to make out that you don't.
Well, I'm not the only person that sets them. They are set by a collective. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, by the way, I forgot to tell you.
Sorry to interrupt you again.
No, that's quite all right. Because you cut me short when we were doing it. I have discovered a survey, right? Now, Wolf Hall's on at the moment, OK?
Yeah, it is.
And the guy playing King Henry VIII is the Etonian.
Yeah.
What's his name?
Well, the guy from Homeland.
Yes, that's him. What's his name?
I can't remember.
What's his name?
You're the TV critic.
Hang on. Well, I've got a survey here, because I'm going to tell you something really great now.
Isn't it Damien Lewis?
It's Damien Lewis, right? Right. OK, now... a popular survey has been done of who was the greatest ever Henry VIII. So the contenders are Damien Lewis, who's the current one, Keith Michel, do you remember him?
I remember Keith Michel. He was good,
of Henry VIII.
Yeah.
Charles Lawton, who played Henry VIII in 1933.
Yeah. He was only in black and white.
Yeah, and it goes right up to I know, Robert Shaw in A Man for All Seasons.
Yes.
Remember him?
Yeah.
And it goes right up to modern times, Ray Winston, who played Henry VIII in 2003.
Oh, right. I haven't seen that.
But the one who gets the winner, even above Homer Simpson of The Simpsons, because he apparently played King Henry VIII in an episode of
probably
The Simpsons, in Springfield. No, guess who gets the shout?
Who?
Sid James
Does
in
he?
Carry On Henry.
Really?
Said to be the Henry VIII, as he portrayed it, was closest to the real Henry VIII,
Maybe so.
A guy
with the ribald laughter and all that.
Ribald laughter, chasing women all over the place, drinking loads of wine, getting intoxicated, being flirtatious with, any woman he can get his hands on. Yeah. He was a closer version of Henry VIII than any other actor who's played Henry VIII. Isn't that fantastic?
Well, I haven't seen Ray Winston or Damien Lewis. But
isn't that one in the eye to the lovies? To say, you try so hard to forensically replicate the lives of the Tudors and all that. In fact, Sid James was probably far more like...
I'm surprised that you haven't actually told me about, and that is the anniversary of 350 years ago today.
Do you know,
when the plague hit London.
Yeah. Listen, I was going to talk to you about it when we were doing the Foxes, but so much to cram into the 2 hours
there
that
is,
we do that we had to move on. But tomorrow, actually, is it tomorrow?
It's today.
Today was the 350th anniversary of the outbreak of the Great Plague. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you know it was killing as many as 10,000 people a week?
I can imagine.
Do you know what that would be in modern-day parlance?
10,000 people a week?
No, it'd be 250,000 people
no,
a
it'd be
week.
10,000. Why would it be more?
Well, as a percentage of the population.
Rubbish.
As a percentage of the population.
Rubbish.
As a percentage of the population, it'd be nearer 250,000.
Are you saying because there are more people in London now that more people would be struck down?
Of course they would.
No, I can tell you because it was only just the other week that I was in the London dungeon
where
they had a guy walking around
you're an expert, are you?
with the big beak on, because they used to wear this thing that made them look like a woodpecker.
Right.
Because it was like a thing to stop the germs
from
coming into their face.
Yeah, maybe something like this there.
Exactly like that,
yeah.
And the guy was walking around and telling us the story.
Yeah.
And the only reason that I'm saying it wouldn't have been more than 10,000 is purely and simply because it was in a specific area of London. It wasn't all over London.
Yeah, but London wasn't big in those days. London was just about the Tower of London, and that was it. And because remember the Great Plague.
It went all the way over to Smithfield and beyond.
I know it did, but the Great Plague was wiped out by the Fire of London.
That's right.
Right now, the point is where they made terrible mistakes were they thought the plague is being carried by cats and dogs, so they literally killed all the cats and dogs.
They did.
They hanged them, they shot them, they burnt them, they threw them in the river and drowned them. And all that happened
rats,
then,
of course, wasn't it?
Exactly, all that happened then was the cats and dogs who were used as rat catchers because London was a filthy place in those days.
Yeah, it was.
Open sewers and all this kind of horrible stuff, throwing waste out the window and all that kind of stuff. The dogs and the cats used to chase away the rats.
Yeah.
And as soon as they killed all the dogs and cats, the plague spread like wildfire, literally, and wiped people out.
I'm
it's a terrible lesson.
I'm surprised the evil cats didn't see it coming.
Well, you'd have thought so, wouldn't you? But, there's one terrible story which I came across in my research for this. The dead carts went out at night, bring out your dead.
That's right.
Bring out your dead. Because they had to get rid of the bodies as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, where did they put them all?
Oh, they put them in pits full of lime and burned them.
Blackheath is one of the places, isn't it?
Yeah,
that's why it's called Blackheath.
And Gravesend.
Yeah.
That's why it's called Gravesend. Gravesend is called Gravesend because that's where you ended up when you were a corpse after dying of the plague. Now, there's one terrible story recorded in the Samuel Pepys diaries, or it might have been the other guy.
There was another lookalike of mine, do you remember? I saw
Samuel
that picture
Pepys.
of myself in the Tower of London.
There were two guys writing diaries. Was Johnson the other guy?
Samuel Johnson. I don't think he was writing them at that time, was he?
Anyway, so what happens is this drunk, who's a Scotsman and a piper, comes down to London, not knowing, of course, it was a plague because there was no international communications in those days, right?
And
by the way, all the...
You see the time, by the way.
Yeah, hang on. All the aristocracy...
Well, hang on, it's nearly time for the
all
news.
the aristocracy moved out to, Berkshire and all that kind of get away from the plague. So it was all the peasants and the poor people who died. Once again, the poor bloody infantry. But anyway, the story is
you would have cared about
the piper
that. You'd have
came
moved
down,
out, wouldn't you?
Piper came down, he got drunk in Pudding Lane, which is where the Great Fire of London started.
Oh, yeah.
He collapsed to the floor. He was then picked up by one of the dead carts. He woke up to find 6 dead bodies on top of him. He couldn't get him off because of the weight, so he started playing his pipe, like his bagpipe.
Did he?
And the guy driving the cart screamed, fled, and thought that somebody who was dead had come back to life. Bring out your dead, I'll bring them back to life, was the cry.
Where'd you hear that rubbish?
I read it in the annals.
The annals. Yeah, I'd like to see that done on paper. Mr. Right, Porky Parry will be back, of course, tomorrow when it's time for Porky's quiz, and it will be a quiz on ABBA, which he has specifically asked for, and which he has very confidently predicted.
10 out of 10, I'm predicting.
10 out of 10.
I'm the world's greatest expert on ABBA.
Yeah.
And I love Agnetha.
You've got to be an expert on something, I suppose. We'll find out what it is in time. This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mics.
Look at the light!
Don't forget to follow the Two Mics at the Two Mics on Twitter and on YouTube. Just look for Two Mics TV.
One of the legendary shows of my life. Literally, one of the legendary shows of my life.
Who was your favourite Thunderbird?
Well, I always used to imagine myself as a Thunderbird pilot.
Did you?
And so I liked the guy who flew the one that had the big containers in the middle, the green one. So
Thunderbird 2?
Thunderbird 2 was Tracy, wasn't it?
Well, they were all called Tracy.
Oh, of course, they're all called Tracy. Yeah, sorry, yeah. Oh, I'm loony.